I think most people would find it quite insane that the government and the military would, maintain such an existential threat to our way of life.
The pipes connected to them distribute water that ultimately make its way out the tap of Navy water users. At the first sign of possible trouble, on November 28, 2021, the Navy shut off these pumps to prevent additional contamination from further spreading into the water system.
It was a little bit of David and Goliath here, I think. It felt like we're taking on the biggest federal agency in the U.S. Red Hill shaft is only 3,000 feet away from the fuel tanks. We've done multiple reports, sometimes repeating the same type of report and ending up with the same conclusion that they needed to do something to rebuild those tanks or it was going to give them a lot of problems.
I mean, for years we were told that Red Hill is absolutely essential for national security, that it would take $10 billion if they shut down Red Hill to develop an alternative fuel storage site. And then it turns out, after our water had been contaminated, that Red Hill was no longer necessary, that Red Hill was obsolete, and that they didn't even need to construct additional fuel facilities.
The Red Hill Clinic is a clinic that has been created exclusively for patients that express symptoms related to the Red Hill fuel spill. In the near future, DEERS enrolled patients that have left Oahu will be able to call the 24/7 TRICARE nurse advice
I
line.
see civilian doctors, but yeah, interesting. I was the type of person who never went to the doctor. My legs felt heavy. I've had ongoing rashes for 2 years. My blood work's been abnormal since that exposure, but the worst part about it was that my brain wasn't functioning. It's like reading, I have trouble remembering what I just read, stuff like that.
19 of the 20 tanks showed core stained black from petroleum. So they knew they had releases or leaks from those tanks.
Our water is poison, for the next 20, 40 years, maybe even longer. People are still sick, thousands of folks are poisoned and thousands are still dealing with health issues. And all of that wasn't for national security at all. It was just for the convenience of the Navy.
What I have noticed too is that the regulators are very cautious around the Navy. Consent orders are voluntary. So I see the reluctance of the regulators to actually hold the Navy's feet to the fire and require them to do this. So the request to test for PFAS at all monitor locations every 2 months, that was a request, not an order.
And I'm really, really sad to say this, but a week ago, 2 weeks ago, I went back onto base and saw that same sheen. It's really sad to see the lack of progress.
The first step in having your home's drinking water tested is calling the Joint Base Pearl Harbor Hickam Emergency Operations Center.
I am from New Mexico, right? And it happened there. There was a massive jet fuel spill there.
Red Hill is not an isolated incident. It is just the latest in a long history and what just seems to be a pattern and practice of sacrificing the environment and sacrificing communities.
Until they do the last drop, it's still, there is risk.
It was said under the site assessment that this is going to be a multi-year effort. That is a lie. It's going to be a multi-decade effort. And I'm not even talking about PFAS. That's going to affect generations to come. And that is the sad reality of this island.